Welcome to another episode of Compa Financial Therapy. I am Danny.
And I am Mike, your compas with financial stories.
How are you doing today?
Good, Danny. How are you?
All right. You have some good stories today?
I got some good stories. No complaints, just
No
stories.
complaints, just stories? All right.
Good stories, I think. Emotional stories.
One of the things I would like to talk today is about family and money, or relationships and money.
I'm already feeling that one. I feel it right here in my gut.
You know, in the neighborhood, in the raza, nobody ever talks about money.
Right.
At least growing up, money was never a discussion.
Right.
You would hear stories that, hey, there's not enough money or this and that, but never investing, savings, nothing about money.
And I don't know if you had the same experience, but as a kid, like my mom would tell me, hey, ahorita no hay dinero. But then I would see money in her purse. I'm like, tirosa, you know?
Yeah.
That's how I would see it as
That's
a
all
kid.
the moms say, oh, no hay dinero. I'm like, what do you mean there's no money?
And I didn't understand it because they don't explain, hey, tenemos que pagar biles. Like, they don't break it down. Maybe I didn't care. It wasn't important for me as a kid, you know. But it might have been important.
Well, I mean, that brings up a good question. At what point shall we talk to our kids about money? Now that you're an adult, now that you figure, because I know you talk to your kids. I talked to my kid early on. But at what point was your first initial discussion about money? What money was?
When I gave them the first class, because I talked to them about debit cards, credit cards.
Oh, you actually sat them down and...
I did. I think my son might have been 5.
Okay, I
5
got to
years
go to
old.
school and this too?
And this fool right here, ATM, debit, what the hell is he talking about? But I just sat down and I talked to him, I explained the difference between the ATM card, the debit card, and the credit card, and I explained to him how each one works. I did. I think my son was 5, my daughter might have been 10. Because I want them to know and understand, not just feel like, hey, it's spending, cuando queramos, hay que gastar.
Did you ever try to play like Monopoly where you're introducing money in that aspect?
I do, but nobody likes to play Monopoly with me.
Well, because you cheat or what? Or you take a little bit under the table or what?
I think because it's a long game. It could be a long game.
It can be. I mean, there's rules that you can make it short if you're not.
Is there?
Yeah.
You gotta teach me. You already gotta teach me chess, and now you gotta teach me Monopoly.
Those are my two favorite games.
I have daddy issues, so you might have to step it up, Daddy. No, that wasn't a joke.
Oh, I didn't know that, but okay.
Did you ever see my dad?
No.
Exactly. Exactly, Danny.
Well, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, it's alright.
Careful with the
dead cat.
With the dead cat.
This is our new Mike, the dead cat, and it's funny because it looks hilarious from this end over here.
It's staring at you, man.
It is. It's okay. You'll be okay. You'll be okay.
Well, just getting back to the subject, there's, money, we're influenced by our parents, how we were raised. And I got a little bit of influence from my parents, even though they didn't talk about money, but I did see that they saved a lot. They did have their savings and stuff like that. I got my first experience when I got to college, where back then there was, I guess there was ATMs, but they gave me a checking account. It says, here's your checking, we're going to put so much money.
Right.
When you go to college, make sure you don't bounce the checks. So that was my first responsibility with money.
That was your parents putting the money right there?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, they gave me a little account. And then after I started working, then I opened up my first college credit card. And, I made sure I paid it at the end of the month.
Right.
I don't know how I always got that okay, I got to pay it at the end of the month. And that was the first rule of mine.
How did your parents get involved with like money, like knowing to have saved for college? Because my parents
didn't save for college. My parents' savings for college was my dad ended up taking multiple jobs.
Oh shit!
To pay for my
and
college.
Putting into that savings when you were okay.
When I started college, I was going to get like loans and a job. My dad said no, because I was the first in my entire generation to go to university. So he goes, no, we'll figure it out. Just go to college. And then my second year, that's when I started applying for internships.
Right.
And he's like, no, because he was afraid I was going to drop out.
Right.
But he said, no, I need this because of this.
It's part of
the curriculum.
The requirement.
And that's when he let me. And then I started paying for my own like books and stuff like that.
Nice. Very, very nice. And it's crazy because for us, there was no talk about save for college. It was just like save money. And I think even for me, when I graduated from high school, I didn't even think I was college material.
But most of in the raza, at least in the schools when I was going to school, you weren't going to college was not a thing.
Right.
You know, it was a big, for me, it was, I had a lot of negative talk, like, why are you going? You're going to waste your time. I would have family and friends, like my parents' friends, why are you letting them go? Put them to work. It's un flojo. I mean, it's literally.
But was it the truth that was flojo, or?
No, no, no.
Oh, okay, okay.
They were just saying, like, oh, he just doesn't want to work. That was the thing.
That was your
then.
way of getting out of work, was
just to go to school. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But luckily my dad saw that college would be a way out, and he really pushed me for it.
Damn, that's cool. Your dad didn't go to college, OC?
No, my dad.
Well, you did mention you're the first.
Yeah.
Sorry, I skipped on that one, Danny.
Yeah, and my uncles and brothers and sisters, they all had the opportunity to go, but I think some of them went to like a junior college, but nobody ever graduated. But as far as a university, I was the first.
Dang, that's good. Yeah. Really good.
Which it was a challenge. It was a challenge of itself. That's a whole different story as far as the experience of being the first in the generation of going, because you had nowhere to go get advice.
Right. And I think that's the part too, that we need to educate a lot of our youngsters, or maybe they are being educated now, but maybe educate even more people. For me, I didn't feel like I was college material, right? So when you're not college material, you either go to work, go to prison, go to jail, join the military, and that's what I did. And even the recruiters, they kind of pounce on that, right? And they'll tell you, well, how are you going to pay for college? Yeah. An uneducated person, me, would be like, oh, I don't fucking know. Not knowing that there's like
loans,
tuition, loans, grants, scholarships, like.
But I think it's typical in the barrio.
Yeah.
I mean, they want to recruit these kids, and I think it's changed over the years, because I know people that still live in the neighborhood, and more are going to college. Now it's becoming more of a, like, okay, you could go to college. It's not like an impossible dream.
Right.
I think back then, 30 years ago, for me, it was like, no, you don't go to college. And it was true. I think of all my friends, probably maybe 2 of us went to college.
Damn.
And in my whole class, I don't know how many, maybe a handful of us, that I knew what were going to college. Everybody else was trying. The big thing was working for a big delivery company.
A delivery company.
They were like, oh, they pay X amount of bucks, and you can make some big bucks, and that was the big thing I remember from friends.
Okay.
But
I remember I would see people going to college, and I'm like, damn, look at those people. Look at those people going to college. And then I was going to the military, and I did my 4 years. Could have fucking gone to university those 4 years, but whatever. Make up for it now.
What encouraged me was, my dad worked in construction for many years, and when I was in high school, I started going to work with them in the summers. Mm-hmm. And we get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and we would be in these skyscraper buildings, and by 8-9 o'clock, you see people with suits rolling in with their coffee, and just like chilling out. I said, you know what? And then we would get to see their offices. Like, I want to work in a place like that. I don't want to work just dumping trash in the morning, and like, no. They're
coming in later. You're already at work, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what encouraged me to go to college. Like, no, this is not for me.
Damn.
So that's why I went to college.
Then you saved your hands, huh?
Yeah. No, I still work in construction. I still get dirty. I like doing it.
Right.
But I don't want to do it as a career.
Right.
There's no way.
I hear from a lot of people, they always have like body aches. The construction workers, they're always, their joints are hurting.
As you get older, I mean, constant, banging,
repetitive movement. I see that and I hear it like, damn, that sucks. They're making good money, but then they're breaking down the body at the same time. Yeah.
At the end, it becomes an issue.
Yeah. Yes, I wanted to kind of piggyback on it from last week that we talked about, is the one family member que me dijo, like, oh, let's go to the horse races. And if you remember, I ended up cashing that check for that person, right?
I remember the story. He went to the horse races. He won a certain amount of money, and you went to cash it for him because he forgot his.
He claimed he forgot his social. I think it was. He's like, hey, cash it for me. I'll give you $50. I'm like, yeah, whatever. And so when we came up with the topic for this week, I was thinking about it, like, dude, some people, including family, will take advantage of you when it comes to money.
Oh, you got to be careful with family.
Right.
I think money is good, but at the same time can be very evil.
Right.
The darkness, the ugliness of people comes out.
Right.
Even your closest relatives.
That's true.
How do you deal with that? I don't know, especially as you start making more money And as you start becoming more financially independent, and you leave people behind, how do you deal with that?
Right.
And that was one of my struggles, because you would see, family, oh, you make so much money, and you have this and you have that, like, but what they don't realize, we sacrifice a lot.
Oh yeah.
We worked hard. Initially when we started buying real estate, we were there, cleaning other people's crap, because I couldn't afford to pay somebody to go clean the apartments.
Right.
So we got dirty. So when family comes and tells me, hey, you have all this, like, you know what? I earned it.
Right.
I earned it.
And I've heard it from family and friends that, man, like sometimes when you buy a house, they'll be like, oh, pues tú tienes casa. And they try to charge you more. You can afford it.
Mm-hmm.
You have a house.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
They'll throw that at you. But you know what? I have bills.
Right.
And then there's some people that, if they say, oh, you bought a really nice house or a really big house, you have money.
Right.
Can you lend me some money?
Right.
I need to buy a car, or I need to buy this. I lost friends because of that. I said, you know what? No. He goes, why? He goes, look, first of all, I'm not a bank.
Right.
Second of all, I'm not a good collector. So if
that's the hard part, right?
That's the hard part. And then you go collect, and they get upset.
Right.
Now we start fighting. So my rule is, I don't lend money to family or friends, or anybody really. Right. I used to, but then I would have a problem trying to collect. And says, oh yeah, lend it to me right now. I'll pay you in 30 days.
Right.
30 days come around. Oh, you know what? This deal didn't come through. Another 30 days. And I say until finally say, hey, dude, I need the money. So since I'm not really a good collector, I said, no, don't lend money.
Yeah.
And there's been this situation where, people would say, hey, I'm in a really bind. Somebody got injured. I need money to go to the doctor or whatsoever. What I learned to do, instead of giving them the money, okay, let's go to the doctor. I'll pay for the bill.
Was that insulting to them to find out when you told them that? Like, hey,
no,
yo te llevo, vámonos.
I don't know. I mean, if they wanted the money, that's my condition. But I don't give no money to them, because then otherwise tomorrow what's going to be?
Right.
And it might have been because they only came like once or twice for that. And that's it. Because they knew my condition is, oh yeah, I'll help you, but I'm going to go pay the bill.
Shit.
And that, I guess, discourages people from coming.
From asking again, yeah?
Because sometimes there was one like, oh no, they just wanted me to give them money, and I knew they were never going to pay it back.
Right.
And if I do lend you money for any X reason, and if you don't pay it back, doors always close.
Right.
Don't even come back and ask.
Don't expect it.
Don't expect
Except the knuckle sandwich, no? Toma perro.
Yeah, well, that. But well, I say if you're going to lend money, you got to keep in your mindset like, no, you're not going to. Might not get it back.
And I've heard from people too, some financial people, like if you lend somebody money, make a contract. So in case anything.
But even if you have a contract, they take it personal. It becomes personal even on business deals. If you have if you and I have a contract, and we have an agreement, and it's pretty written down, at one point or another, you might see the contract a little bit different.
Right.
Because everything's through that gray area. And if the contract doesn't go your way, then we become having an issue.
Right.
And it could get ugly. It could get really ugly really quick. And, I could tell you stories about, me doing contracts with the families and friends where our contract is specifically black and white. They start deviating from the contract. And then suddenly, I bring it to their attention. They start yelling at me like, what? Why are you doing this? And at the end, it just gets really ugly.
Right. And I think I find it that even happens because you're family. Like, hey, well, he's my family. You should be able to give me something.
They expect, especially they know that you're better off. They expect for you to give them a little bit more, to give them a little bit more leeway.
And that's the funny part. So I have a story to share because we're with your financial stories. I have somebody I did a side job for a few times, and I didn't charge them anything. I think maybe 2 or 3 times I did something for them for free. And then they called me for a 4th time, and I said, hey, I'm going to charge you this much. And it was still cheap, like really cheap. And they're like, yeah, go for it. And then they hired me for a New Year's event. And I said, all right. I said, for New Year's, prices go up. I'm going to charge you. And I still charge them cheap. I charge them X amount. When it came time to pay, they didn't even give me 50. I think they paid me $50 less. And I said, that's fine. Not a problem. And now that person doesn't like inviting me to their events anymore because I started charging them. They felt like I was ripping them off, but they forgot to take into account all the other stuff that I did for them for free. And now because I charge them,
It happens.
and it's still whatever I'm charging them is still cheap.
My rule, if I'm doing side work or any like a side hustle where I'm doing something specific to one of my trades or
Right.
something that I do, if it's a really good friend and it's for their house, their parents or something like that, I tell them, you know what, I'm not going to charge you. But if it's for their income property or they're going to be making money,
Right.
I tell them straight out, I will charge you, because if you're going to make money, I'm going to make
Right.
money.
You're like the IRS.
Yeah, be like the IRS. But at the same time, if I go help family, I don't expect anything in return. And I find that most of the time, when I need help, nobody shows up.
That's true.
So if you're going to go help, you got to go help, okay. I had people like, oh, I bought a new house, and I'll go help them. And then, oh, I'm going to be doing something at my house this weekend. Oh, they'll make an excuse and they'll never show up. So now I try to limit. I'm getting older, so I'm like,
I don't want to deal with that
I
shit.
don't deal with that anymore.
Yeah.
I start paying people to do work in my house, so why am I going to go work at somebody else's
You
house?
can pay me, Danny? No. It's going to be a problem.
No, I'd rather pay. I don't, instead of avoiding having problems with each other.
Oh, man. And there was another incident too. Family. When I got out from the service, I lived with family for a bit. And there was no talk ever about you're going to pay X amount of rent. But before that person had asked me if I can get a $5,000 loan for them because they were having financial problems. I think might have been like 20, 21.
Let me guess. I can already see the result.
What was the result? Let's see.
You got the loan.
Uh-huh.
You gave them the money, and when you went and charged them, that was the rent that you were supposed to pay.
Damn.
Am I good?
Yeah. Exactly what happened. Exactly what happened, right?
I knew the scam right there.
You know the person?
No, but I could tell you right there from personal experience, like, oh.
And it's crazy because that person was paying me back, I think it was like $250, $300 a month. And they were paying me, consistently paying me. I moved in. There was never any talk about paying rent. I said,
So you got the loan before you moved
Yeah.
in? Oh, okay.
But it turned out exactly how you said it. After some months, they decided they wanted to change the
contract,
the stipulations.
the terms.
Yeah. The verbal agreement. And I went to go collect. I'm like, hey, what's up with the money? And they said, well, technically, like, you're living here for free, and the $300 that I'm paying you, it kind of evens out. I was like, wow.
But they should have told you, because then you could have found another resource.
Right.
If you wanted to accept the terms, hey, $300 for this garage or wherever you were living, or this cucaracha, where there's cucarachas and stuff.
Right.
Hey, I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah. And honestly, and I agree with you, they should have told me something.
Yeah.
Instead of diciéndome, hey, es casi como pagar la renta. Like,
Yeah, no.
what the hell? You should have told me that from the beginning or at some point, not just all of a sudden
That's wrong.
change the stipulations.
But that's typical, though. I think
Yeah,
that's why I knew the result of the story,
Yeah.
because that's very typical of our people, where like, oh, he's making money now, or well, he's not. I'm not charging. I'm not making any money off of him, but I owe money. We'll call it a wash.
Right.
No.
That sucks.
That's why it's hard to make business with family and friends.
Right.
And if you are going to help, you should be straight up like, look, I'm not going to charge you. I'm not going to do this for you.
Right.
To avoid that. Because now you're pissed off and you see them like, man, and you'll never forget the story.
Oh, no, I still have it. It's been 16 years.
And you'll never, and, and
2005.
it's like yesterday. Because, yeah, they got you off guard. I think in the way they kind of took advantage of you.
Right.
Because if you would have known, you would have like, hey, wait a minute. Technically and legally, you have every right to go, hey, no, our deal,
Right.
and you were supposed to pay it. You didn't tell me how much you're going to charge rent.
Right.
I think you're overcharging me rent.
They never told me anything. They never said this much. And I don't remember if I was contributing. I don't remember. I was young, dumb, obviously. And but I don't remember. But then I remember when they flipped it, I was like, wait a minute, what the fuck? You should have told me from the beginning, or have a conversation with me. Let me know, like, hey.
As of this date,
Right.
But
not just all of a sudden.
or what if we do this? They
Right.
could have done that approach.
Yeah. Y ni eso. And it sucks because it is family. You're living with them. You're like, motherfucker. Okay. Bueno, pues.
Family and money, money has destroyed families.
Right.
I've seen families where, you know, when a parent passes away or both parents pass away, all the kids like suddenly, the parents. Well, I was their favorite. You know, it destroys family. You know, the siblings say, "Oh, you're my best brother or my best sister," and you know, they're lovey-dovey, and then once money comes into the plate,
forget it. Huh?
Salen las
The
uñas.
nails come out. Yeah.
And
I've even seen people say like, "Oh, he'd want me to have this. He'd want me to have that." I'm taking this like that.
that goes back. You know, why it's important to do a living trust.
Right. And talk to your family about it. Not just do it, but talk to them about it.
Yeah. And that's important. Talking to your kids about money. You know, like well, you know, we started talking about earlier. I think I easily started telling my son, you know, where I work, you know, our expenses, you know, how much I make. And as he got older, I started giving him, you know, right now you could talk to him. He knows everything about my finances. I don't keep it a secret. He knows where I have all my money invested. He knows access to my bank accounts. He knows the stuff more than I do, I think, sometimes. We're open. We're open. We talk about money pretty much probably every other day. You know, I gave him responsibility to start managing some stocks for me, and
you trust them, obviously.
Of course.
Yeah.
But it's beyond trust. It's for him to get confidence of how to deal with money, how to manage money, to see how we're managing money, how we made our money, the sacrifices, because he's also sacrificed. You know, I've taken him, hey, come on, you're going to clean with me.
Right.
You know, so he knows what we put into what we...
To be where you're at now.
Where we're at. So I'm hoping that, you know, my goal is when I die, it goes to him or his kids or, you know, and he takes care of it because he knows we worked hard for it.
Right. And I think that's where my kids are at. And that's why I started teaching them about money, because my oldest and my middle child, they both felt like we were really tight on money, like super tight, like really bad with money. My son, he felt it a little bit, and there's still some like remnants of him saying, "Yeah, I know we can't get these shoes because they're expensive." Like, no, mijo, if you want them, like,
we can do it now.
Shit, we could do it now. My daughter too, she's like, "Hey, I know it's expensive." And they don't ask for much. They'll be like, "Oh, this or that." I know we don't have money. Like, and it was funny one day when I finally started making good money a couple years ago. My middle daughter, she comes up to us. I think our oldest daughter was going out of town or traveling somewhere, and we gave her some money. And I think we were buying tickets to go to some kind of sports event or whatever, entertainment, whatever it was. And my middle child comes. I think she might have been like 9, 10. And it was funny. It's cute. We make fun of her. We tell her, because she came up to us and she's like, "Hey, are we rich all of a sudden?"
You won the lottery.
And my wife and I, we make fun of her because it was cute. And then she noticed there was a change. There was a shift in maybe the attitude.
We're eating carne. No more beans and rice.
All these foods went from choice to prime now on their meats. And we tell her, like, "Yeah, we're rich all of a sudden, Davina." And she's like, "Oh." We had to explain to her, like, "No, since Daddy finished school, now he's making a little bit better money and things are better off." But they pick up on stuff like that.
Oh, no, kids, I think kids are smart.
Right.
You know, I think that's why it's important to let them know a little bit, and based on their age, but enough to where if you are really having some major financial situations, let them know, but that it's okay.
Right.
It's okay. You know, we're working with it. It's just everybody goes through these slumps, and we're working on it. I know it's not a happy ending for everybody. Some people, you know, end up being homeless and so forth, but at least give them the comfort that we'll figure it out. Even if we're sleeping on the car or sleeping on the street, we eventually will get back on their feet.
Right.
And I think if you give them that confidence, and I think the key thing is a person as an individual, you need to figure out what's the role in money in you, and then how to make it work for you.
Right.
If you're in down, you know, find a way to get up your feet and maybe get one job, get 2 jobs. I think the only time you can't surpass that is if you have a major influence like drugs or alcoholism, where that controls your life,
right?
And then you can't get beyond. But any other time, I think you'll find a way. If you're healthy, you could work, and you're willing to work. You might have to work 2 or 3 jobs. You know, my parents did it, and you know, sometimes you have to do side hustles.
Yeah. I agree.
to do what you need to do. Now, is everybody willing to do that?
Not at all. I've seen people that are like, one job is probably like too much for them at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even before we bought our house, we told the kids like, hey, because they were it was like 3 kids to a room, and my wife and I in the other room. And that's all we could afford at the time. With the help of family too, that were renting for cheap for us. And before we bought the house, the kids were already complaining like, hey, it's a small room, we don't have privacy. I said, look, we can buy a house, but we're gonna be tight on money. You guys can have your own rooms, you get them, but we're gonna be tight on money. Doesn't mean we can't go out, doesn't mean we can't spend. But do you guys understand, like, the money's not gonna be flowing freely as it was before? And they're like, oh no, we're good.
Well, I think key is you got to teach your kids or your family to live below your means.
Right.
Because if you're always chasing that next check, you always have stress.
Right.
And the stress within the family nucleus is not good.
Yeah.
Because you start having problems, you start getting frustrated, then you start having problems with your spouse, and then the marriage starts having problems, and then the kids start seeing it. It just trickles down.
Yeah.
So I think it is very important for every family to have at least monthly meetings about family.
About finance.
At least
or finances.
Or about the whole the money, the household money. The goals that you want to do. If you want to do a trip,
right?
Okay, hey, like the kids could say, we want to go on Disneyland. Well, okay, if that's a wish that the kids really want. Okay, we'll figure it out how to budget it in, and every month everybody puts a little thing to a jar or something, or an envelope,
or help save money for it too.
Help save money for it
instead of spending on this. Hey, we're going to divert that money over to this over here.
Or the parents could say, you know what? When you get your allowance or your birthday money, you're going to get so much money. When you have enough for your ticket, we will go. There's different strategies the parents could do, but I think it is critical that the discussion is there.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen in many families. And I think if you have the discussion, you will have a happier family. Money should not be an issue.
Right.
Because at least it's going to be tight. It won't be a surprise to nobody.
Exactly. And I think it'll reduce that stress for the family, especially for whoever it is. The breadwinner could be the husband, the wife, or whoever's the head of household. Because the kids do see it, and they feel it también. Mm-hmm. Daddy's stressed out, or mom's stressed out, and you can see porque he's whatever he's.
But see, I know people where like the husband works, and the wife has no idea what bills he pays.
Shit.
Where his savings and checking accounts at. They have no idea how much the husband makes. And I've seen situations where the husband passes away. Lady has no idea what to do.
That sucks.
She knows he had apartments. She knows he had business. Nada. No sabe. And what happens, that puts that wife into a position where she's vulnerable. It's bad enough that she lost her husband, but now she's vulnerable. Do you really want that for your family and your kids?
Oh, you felt that?
Uh-oh. We're having a little earthquake. Sorry for the interruption. We just experienced an earthquake, and Mike here had to run to the restroom. He said he had a little accident.
I had a little accident.
No,
I had to change my clothes.
No, but
I have racing straps in my underwear now.
Hey, it's Mother Nature. She wanted to join our podcast.
Yeah. Sending a message, Ándale.
Póngase a trabajar. But yeah, we were talking about family and how important it is to have the discussion at least on a monthly basis.
Right.
And the part of the discussion, I think it should be that everybody should put their goals. Where are we going to be, or where we want to be, and how are we going to save money? At least everybody's in the same page. Because if you're not on the same page, you're going to have money discussion problems. And if you're not, if let's say you talk to your wife and she says, okay, our goal is we're going to try to be frugal this month, and let's not eat out a lot, or whatever you're going to do to save money, and then she goes and
still spending like, eating out,
whatever, then you guys are not on the same page.
Right.
What's going to happen? You're going to say, hey, you're going to have a conflict, and that's how money conflict starts. Right. And it says, well, it's my money, I could do whatever I want.
That happens.
Yeah.
It happens. I hear it, I see it, I'm like,
That's why it's important to talk about money. And if, for those who are getting into a serious relationship, like, hey, we're thinking of moving in together or getting married, whatever it may be, money has to be a number one priority.
The conversation of money?
Yeah.
I agree.
because first of all, you need to know how that person is with money.
Right.
Is he a spender or is he a
A
saver?
saver.
What is that person? And what financial situation they're in? Are they in good financial health, or they're in
Like
debt?
a ton of debt, huh?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Or can that person be trusted? I had a situation where I knew people where they were about to get married, and the guy had no idea how the lady was spending the money. He had given her money, and she wasn't paying the bills.
Ooh. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've seen that. So there's got to be that discussion. There's got to be a little bit of that. Start establishing that trust. Open up a little savings account together, maybe to do a vacation if you're going to live together, or to do a specific, I don't know, something that you're going to be doing together, at least to see if you're both going to contribute
Right.
equally. How that's going to be spent, to get to know that person. There's got to be that get to know phase of how you're dealing with money.
Right.
At least that's my opinion. I don't know how you feel about it.
And I agree. And because I think when we first started doing the baby steps, saving money and stuff like
But how
that.
did you start talking to your wife about money before you got married?
Before there was no conversation about money.
So when did it
And
come
we were
up?
sloppy. We were sloppy with the money.
So
We
when
were-
you got married, what happened? You each had your own account?
No, we had bank accounts together, but I came in with debt. She came in, I
But-
think, with a little bit of debt.
At what point did you open up a bank account together?
I think right when we I think
Before
when
you
we
got married, or after you got married?
No, I think it might have been before we got married, because we had a kid together. So technically, you're married, right? Hispanic,
yeah.
by definition, you're married. Knocked her up, moved her out. Then we told her parents. That's how it happened. That's how her mom called me. Mike, ¿está embarazada? Sí, sí, está embarazada. ¿Por qué no me dijeron? I don't know. I don't know.
There was no email back there.
There was no even back then. So I think we opened an account before we got married, because we had a kid. We had moved in together, and then I think we got married after that.
So when you moved in, is that when you opened the account, or even before that when you were dating?
I think when we moved in.
That's when you said, okay, we got to
Yeah.
open up an account. Because I know people that are married, and they've been married for years, and they still have separate accounts.
I've seen that too. I don't know. My opinion is on that.
Yeah, I don't agree with that, because it's a family. I think you got to treat the family as a business, and when it comes to money, and the business. How can you have separate accounts for the business?
So the marriage is a union, but the bank accounts are separate.
It works from some families, but personally, I think the best is when you have a discussion and everybody's on the same page and everybody has the idea or where you're going to go with the money: vacations, savings, buying a house, buying a car. Everybody has to be on the big ticket items. Because I know people where they got married and then suddenly one person buys a car and like, hey, wait a minute, I thought we were going to discuss this, and well, there goes the arguments.
Damn.
So my thing is, any big ticket item, we're going to sit down and have a discussion.
Right. Same here. We have the same conversation. Unless it's something like, hey, I need to make a decision off the bat. But it's not going to be like buying a house overnight or buying a car. Nothing
But
big
even
ticket.
then, I've purchased property, like on the spot almost.
Did you? Damn.
Yeah, I mean, because sometimes especially when we were flipping homes, and when we were, we were looking for a deal. A deal comes out.
Right.
You can't go and hey, honey, but the discussion was way before. We did have a discussion. Hey, we have this money. I would like to go find a flipper or a house to flip, or I'm going to go look for a multifamily property. What do you think? We've had that discussion. So when my agent, my broker, and said, hey, go look for this. If you find it, give me a call. He calls me up. I go, okay, put the offer. We ran and go look at it. Yes, it's good. I started the offer before I went because the deal was so good.
Right.
And that's, we've done that. But again, we had the discussion
Beforehand,
ahead of time.
okay.
That, hey, I'm going to be doing these type of investments.
And did you tell your wife at the time, like, hey, I'm going to have to make like an executive decision on the spot?
Well, she knew that, because we had been flipping homes. She knew that those you can't wait. You got to make a decision on the spot right away. So she knew, and then once I put the offer, you don't close immediately. You got time to close. We would go and look at the property together and say, yeah, this is a good deal. or no, we're not going to buy it. But that's typical, you know. So, but that's business. That's how we do a business. As far as the household, any big ticket item, like buying a car, going on a major vacation, major remodel on the house, we sit down and talk about it, budget it through.
Right.
If we could buy it cash, do it cash, then we save for it. If it's something like, you know what, this is going to be a lot of money, let's get a loan, we'll talk about that.
Right. I remember when you're talking about that, it reminded me of the first time we were able to pay for something cash. It wasn't anything big, but we spent a couple $100s on it. Best feeling ever. Instead of financing it, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, once you become financially independent,
Right.
meaning that you don't have the credit cards on your back, it's a whole different feeling.
Right.
You know, I've been there where, yeah, you have a lot of credit card debt, or you have a lot of bills coming in, and I've been in the other way where financially independent.
Right.
And the two are totally like different feelings, you know, and you do feel good. Now when I get into a little bit of debt, like, you know, you get into that feeling. Like, it's not a lot. I could probably pay it off pretty quick, but
Yeah.
then again, it's like, I personally like the feeling of not having any debt. But it's just me.
Right. And I agree with you on that. Because the stuff that we've been able to pay cash, it feels good. Like, I don't have to worry about next month's payment, the future next. Like, dude, ya está pagado, ya, vámonos.
The nice thing about that is that when you become financially independent and you don't have that monthly debt that was haunting you, you could plan for nice vacations.
Yeah.
You know how many vacations I've done in my last 20, 30 years?
Mm.
The other day we were talking with my son, and we were like, wow, we've been to all these different places. I think over the years, we've spent somewhere maybe about $100,000, $200,000 on vacations.
Damn.
You know, I mean, they've been like nothing glamorous. I mean, we don't go, you know, private jet or anything, like that, but, you know, nice vacations where we enjoy them, and we've seen a lot of cities and, you know, theme parks and different parts of the world, museums. You know, we've been able to do that. I've been able to give that to my son because my wife and I have been able to manage our finances.
Right.
And we plan our vacations, and we get to sit down, hey, where do you want to go on vacation next year? Oh, I want to go here. I would always like to go here. It's a decision that we make as a family. And as he gets older, he tells us where he would like to go.
Right. And I heard you this time too, and last time too, you were mentioning sometimes you even plan it a year in advance, right? You start putting money away a year in advance.
When we went to Europe, it was a 30-day vacation.
Damn.
It took us about a year and a half to 2 years to plan it.
Shit.
So, you know, I wasn't making as much, and, you know, we were financially pretty much independent then.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to save up just to go. And at that time, we went on one of those tour things. And I think at that time when we went, the total trip cost, both the tour and expenses that we purchased over there, I think it was like $15,000
For a month.
For a month. It was really good. We saw 9 countries or something like that, and I thought it was too long personally. But my wife wanted to keep going. Like, no. But what I learned from that is that we plan it. That was the first time I think we really planned a really long trip. We planned for it. We saved for it. We came back. We didn't have to worry about credit
cards or no interest or no debt, nothing.
Felt good. And what actually ended up happening, we started saving, where do you want to go next?
Shit.
You know, and then from after that, we did the Walt Disney World, we did the Washington, we did all those nice trips that you hear about.
Right.
Some people wish they could do, but you could do it.
Well, they
Anybody
put
can do
credit cards, right? Because I heard somebody recently was telling me like, oh, they go on vacation, and everything's on credit card. Like,
it. Well, we put everything on credit card, but because we already had the money set aside, we pay the credit card at the end of the month.
Did you do that because what you talked about last time, we were saying that sometimes using debit card online?
I never use debit card. Never use debit card. My debit card, I only use it to go get cash at the ATM, and that's it.
Okay.
But for the debit for purchasing, never.
Okay, so security reasons.
Security reasons, fraud reasons, and it can ruin your financial. Yeah, I don't recommend it, and I never use it.
Okay.
But yeah, credit cards I do use a lot for the points, the rewards.
Right.
But the key with that, pay it at the end of the month. If you can't pay it at the end of the month, don't use it.
And that's what some people tell you, like the financial guys tell you, like, don't use your credit card. they're like, oh, but I pay at the end of the month. Yeah, but you got to be really,
You got to be
really,
disciplined. You
yeah,
got to be disciplined. And it's difficult to do, because it's like
Yeah.
swipe. Not everybody can do that. It takes time to build that discipline.
right.
And because like, oh, how much have we spent? And you do have to monitor what you're spending on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think that's kind of dangerous too. If you're just swiping, like, oh, I'm gonna rack up rewards. I think find that some people rack up rewards, but end up overspending.
Yeah.
Than they really wanted to.
Well, for me, everything's on a budget. We have budgets.
Right.
When we go to the market, if we're gonna buy anything that is not part of our regular budget, again, we have that discussion. Like, do we need it or do we want it?
Right.
There's needs and wants. And the needs is something that we really need. Like if you have a job interview and you don't have a suit, that's a need.
Right.
You go buy yourself a suit. But if you like, you know what? I need a TV. Well, if your TV's not broken, do you really need it?
Right.
That's something, okay, you know what? That's a want.
Right.
On the wants, we sit on it. We might sit on it a week. We might sit on it a month, depending on the expense.
Right.
And if after a month or the period of time that we want to sit on it, and we still, you know what, we want it. I know we could afford it, but it's like, do I want to spend that money?
Right.
Once we figure that, yeah, you know what, we really want it, let's spend it. We go buy it.
Then
And we shop around. We don't just go buy the first one we see. Especially anything that's more than $500, you could talk to my wife and she's just buy it. And I'll shop around for internet, go to the store, and I'll go everywhere. Groupons, see if there's anything you can get a discount on.
See.
If I know somebody's working at a store that sells that, hey, can you get an employee discount?
See.
I'll do everything to see if I could save a little bit. It's probably cheaper to just buy it because the amount of time I spent doing that, I could have been making money somewhere else. But for some reason, it's just personal satisfaction to doing the research and making sure I got the good deal.
Right. And that's what my wife tells me too, because I get the military discount, right? A lot of places, but I don't for many years I was like, I don't want to use that military discount. Leave it for somebody who really needs it. And then as we started getting wiser, I started getting wiser with the money, because my wife would always tell me use it. Then she started looking for coupons, discounts, employee discounts, and she's like, use your military. I'm like, fuck it, then I'm gonna military discount for whatever the fuck.
Hey, you give your life for 4 years, you're entitled to it.
I'm starting taking advantage now.
Yeah, use it. I mean, it's not taking advantage. I mean, it's there.
Right.
That's why they do it for people like you who gave your life to the government for 4 years or 8 years, whatever the time that it's there. Use it.
And I know
it's
other
a
people.
Benefit.
Yeah, it's a benefit.
Don't look at it as a needy thing. Look at it as a benefit.
Right.
And you got to look at that.
And I don't think that's how I was looking at it in the beginning, but now it's like let's start using everything.
But as you're becoming more and more financially independent, do you agree that you feel better?
Yeah.
You don't have that worry about that monster worrying of staying like, well, how am I going to make that bill? I personally feel, if you have a lot of debt, that more debt's going to come.
Right.
Because you're always chasing that, trying to calm that monster down. If you're debt free, somehow, somewhere you get offers for jobs, you get offers for side gigs, money comes in.
And I started noticing that too. Like all of a sudden, we start getting better offers for stuff. I'm like, bro, no, better offer than this and this and that. I'm like, nah, I'm good.
No, yeah, you gotta just be financially smart on how you make your decisions and talk. That discussion is key. Before you get married,
yeah,
you should have it. I think my wife and I started talking. When I think after I proposed to her, then we said, okay, let's start open up a savings account or checking account before we could start saving for the wedding. And we both put in, and then she would be responsible. And then somehow, I don't know how we got into have different accounts for different things. I think it was her idea, but I don't know where she got that from. And that worked for us. We have different accounts, a savings for vacation, a savings for by fixing a car, another one for buying a car, and we put into it, and they worked.
See.
Kind of crazy. But
and I remember you passing it on to me too, talking about businesses, like for a business have this separate, the taxes separate, the marketing, advertisement, everything separate.
When you have a business, no matter how big or how small, treat it as a business.
Okay.
Separate individual accounts, separate everything. Keep it separate. Don't commingle your business for two reasons. One, especially if you have a limited liability company, I think we talked about that.
Yeah.
You don't want to commingle funds because it breaks the corporate veil.
Right.
But you want to keep those things separate, you know. And I bring my family, my son and my wife, into my business. They know what my business are. They know if I die today, they know how to take over my
Pick up and run with it.
I'm hoping they can. They know where everything's at. They know where all the contracts are at.
Nice.
I don't have to worry about that.
Right.
And I'm hoping, and I already told them, if I die, any life insurance money that you get, this is what I expect you to do.
Mm.
And hopefully, if they follow it, they will never have to worry about money.
Right. And if they don't, forget it.
If they don't, you know, I did my part. And I think for my son, I'm hoping I set a good example and good foundation on how we deal with money in our household, that he could learn from that and do better.
Right.
I'm expecting that he could take this knowledge that I've learned over the years on investing and buying real estate, that he does better than me.
Right.
Because that's what we really want, right?
And then he started younger too, right? Because
he started investing younger than I have. So he knows about buying stocks. He knows about buying real estate. You know, he hasn't purchased anything yet, but I think eventually he will.
Right.
But if his mindset is early on, like, hey, we could go buy apartments, or I could go buy X, and know how to deal with it, he should be better off financially. Right. I don't see him struggling financially.
Right.
As long as he could work and he le pone ganas.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. A really good thing that you taught him at a very young age también.
Yeah.
So that it's already instilled in him, y vámonos, let's run with it.
We'll see. We'll write the book in 20 years if he learned anything from us.
We'll find out.
But again, you know, what I taught him, I teach that to everybody. You know, anybody that comes up to me and says, hey, I want to know how to save or how to pay my bills or how to do X, I'm not shy about it. I don't have any reserves. I'll tell you what is my secret, how I did it, how I got out of the neighborhood, and
right.
I am somewhat successful because I've been able to do things that most people can't.
Right. And I was thinking about that right now. You mentioned if somebody comes up to you and asks you, right? And it's true. If when I came up to you and we started talking, you laid it all out for me. And then I took a step back last week because I was thinking, like, dude, because I talk to people like, hey, especially people that I work with that I know, like, hey, are you investing? Let's talk about finances. I'm not selling anything. I promise you, I'm not selling you shit. I just want our people to come up ahead. And I started thinking, like, dude, I probably sound like those fucking religious freaks that come out and like, hey, let's talk about.
I get a mic, go. Hide. He's gonna sell you something.
Yeah. I'm not selling anything, but it's just I want to help people. But I probably sound like those super religious people that want to just spit Jesus down your throat. Now I want to spit the stock stuff, you know, and investment.
Well, it's because at least for me, I would have loved to have somebody that could be a mentor where, like, hey, how do I do this? How do I get out from this rut of living check to check? Everybody can do it. You don't have to make $300,000 a year.
Right.
You could live really comfortably with $50,000.
Right.
I mean, in California, I don't know, with $50,000 $50,000 a year income. I'm not sure if you could do a lot, but you could probably make it work.
Right. I think you could, especially living below your means.
Because if you live below your means and you learn how to invest a little bit of that, that investment will pay off down the line.
Right. And that's what I tell people too when I come at me with my investing Bible. Les digo, like, even if it's just small pieces, just like start. And slowly it's going to build up to bigger, and you're going to start making hopefully more returns on it.
But the hard part, I think, for everybody coming from, they want instant success.
That's the part.
There's no magic number. Unless you win the lottery, there is no magic number. You know, even if you try to do illegal stuff, at the end you get caught.
Right.
And it's going to cost you more. You end up losing. The key to getting out is working hard, investing, and patience.
Right.
It's hard to be patient because you see, like, You bought your first property, or 30 years to pay that.
Yeah, I think about that.
There's ways that, you give a little bit extra every month. Instead of 30 years, it comes down to 10 years.
Right.
It comes down to 7 years, depending on how much you're putting extra. You got to see, one of my strategies, every time I get a raise, like a cost of living from my
Right.
job, I'll either put it on the 401k, if that's not maxed out, or I'll put it into some other type of an investment.
Okay.
That's me. And of course, the investment's going to pay off down the line. You don't see immediate gain,
Right.
but down the line you see it.
And
I'm seeing it now.
That's what I tell people, like, hey, it's long term. It's not like immediately, like, you're not going to get rich overnight.
But one of the common things that I think I see in our families, I've had this from family members. What if I don't make it? I mean, wait till next tomorrow. I want to enjoy my money today.
Right, I have heard that. I don't take anything with me when I die.
Exactly.
Okay, selfish, but you're leaving the family behind.
But not only that, but I think, what if you do make it
Yeah.
to age 80? You're going to be struggling. You can't
Yeah.
continue working the way you are.
Yeah.
You got to think and plan for the future. But they don't.
Right.
I think they're expecting me to probably.
You're going to take care of him.
Yeah, I'm not
Pues
gonna
el Danny está rich. He's got money. Nos puede cuidar a toda la familia.
I don't think so.
From generation to generation.
I'm sorry, but I think I would. It's hard, and that's where it gets to the point. Like, when you start making a little bit more money, you have to start making decisions. Do you leave those people behind,
Right.
and you move forward, and you, or the only people that I personally that I feel that I won't leave behind is my parents and my grandparents when they were alive.
Right.
But everybody else, I'm sorry. I'll teach you.
Right.
I'll give you what they say. Teach you how to fish, for you could
Right.
you could succeed. But I will not. Don't expect me to come and bail you out.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I had a similar situation. I had a family member. They're young, and I try to tell them, like, hey, do this. Let's talk about investment. And the response was like, I don't care. Everybody else can get rich. The moment that person told me that, I said, okay. I backed off. All right.
Later on, they're gonna be.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if in the future they come to me and want to talk. I'm like, I don't know if I want to be an asshole and be like, no, you told me this. Or
no,
should I
don't
be?
think I think you should. If they realize that there was a mistake, I think you should, help them out.
I don't know.
There was one time, and this is when you're young, you think you know it all and don't pay attention. I had the opportunity to meet this really, really wealthy man, and his advice to me was, whatever you do, study business. At least get a minor in business. Learn how to run a business. He goes, no matter what field you get into. Did I pay attention?
Of course not.
No. Over the years, when I wanted to start a business, I went back to school and learned the basics in accounting and the basics of marketing, a little bit about business. I think everybody should learn at least accounting, the terminology, and marketing. I think that's key to know the lingo for when you hire people to manage your books, to manage, how to what's going on, and you can look what's going on the books. You know exactly what's going on. So I didn't pay attention, and I look back and I tell my family, like, hey, try to learn from people who already been past it. They made mistakes. I made mistakes. I'm gonna tell you,
I made a lot of mistakes that I'm still taking care of.
I could tell you what my mistakes are, or don't do that. Now, if you do it, you don't listen.
That's on you.
I had a friend that he wanted to buy a piece of property, and he tells me, "Hey, come and look at it." I went to look at it. It's in a nice neighborhood. It's a prestigious neighborhood. The only difference, the property was right next to a freeway.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the backyard, Pinche freeway right there.
Right, just there, eh?
Right in the backyard. You look up, and boom, it was like the freeway was like there, and it was like no setback, no buffer or anything. It was like there.
So a car could come flying.
The car could come flying. That was one of the issues, and the other issue was it had a shared driveway between the neighbors.
Uh-huh.
I went and looked at the property. I told him, hey, personally, I wouldn't buy it. He goes, why? But the property is good. It's in a really good school district. I go, dude, you're asking me for my opinion? I wouldn't buy it because of these reasons. And I told him about the freeway and the shared driveway. And it had an oak tree, which is a protected tree.
Is it?
In
in
LA County, they're protected. So I told him, you got 3 negatives. That's a no-no. And it's a fixer-upper.
Okay.
So it was a fixer-upper. So I'm going to tear it down and I can make a lot of money. I go, dude, you're not going to make a lot of money. So the idiot bought the property. I don't want to say an idiot, but the person bought the property. And he was not able to build what he was going to do. His estimates, when people had told him, I had told him, hey, it's going to cost you this much. He goes, no, I think you can get it done cheaper. At the end, it was going to be a lot more expensive. He didn't have the money. His wife didn't want to move to the property because it was too much noise from the freeway.
Right.
And so they ended up renting it. At the end, what happened, he tried to sell it, put it on the market. It wouldn't sell. It was a very difficult property to sell. So, and he still had the nerve to come in and, hey, I really want to get rid of this property. I go, look, this is what you could do. If I was you, this is what I would do. You have a tenant. Make him an offer. Have him as a tenant. He might want to buy the property. Right. And that's what he ended up doing. That's how he was able to get rid of the property. The tenant likes it there. He's living there. So find out if maybe, you help him with the down payment. And he worked out a deal, and that's how he got rid of the property.
He got rid of it.
He didn't make any deal. He didn't make any money off of it, but he was able to get rid of it. Yeah. That person never followed my advice. That person, again, he asked me sometime, hey, Vegas was booming. He goes, hey, let's go buy some property in Vegas, and I have a bunch of friends that we're going to get together and we're going to buy a house. I said, dude, first of all, don't buy it with friends. If you're going to do it, make sure you have a solid contract. Oh, no, these are my buddies. They won't let me down. Well, the person went and got a loan on his name only. And guess what happened? The economy took a dive. And all the people that invested, hey, no, I don't want to pay. I can't afford it.
Shit.
Al último lo dejaron solo. He ended up losing the property.
Ooh, what an investment.
It was a bad investment.
What an investment.
Yeah, so you got to be careful when it comes to money, with friends.
Did they have a contract?
I don't know if they ever did a contract, but all I know is that everybody walked away and he got stuck because his name was on the loan.
Friends. These are my buddies.
That was his buddies. I don't know whatever happened to the buddyship, but his buddies left him hanging dry.
Fuck. With friends like that?
Yeah, so that's why personally I think it's not good to do business with. If you don't want to lose that friendship, it might not be good to.
I was gonna ask you if you wanted to buy some property together, but I think that's off the market right now. By a freeway.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, Skid Row area.
Actually, that was a good area.
With some tents.
30 years ago, downtown LA, that around that Skid Row, it was cheap.
Yeah.
You were able to buy a mini, 8-story building for like $200,000.
Oh, yes.
I read this article in the LA downtown thing. This developer bought 5 properties for $250,000 each, right on Broadway.
Damn.
Well, when he started, the area boomed. Each one was worth $20 million each.
I heard about that.
He made millions. But, when you would go to 20 years, 30 years into that neighborhood, like, I don't want to go here.
Right.
He saw the future. He made money. Sometimes you got to sit and buy it and sit and wait.
I heard about, you heard of the Cecil Hotel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in that area.
I heard about that one. That one, I think they bought it for a couple $100,000, and at the end it was worth like millions.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus. Even with all its bad history. But
with
the property
the haunted stuff, properties are
the deaths, murders, and all that stuff.
I mean, look at Inglewood? After the stadium went in there and
everything else went up. Huh?
Everything went else. That's prime property now.
Yeah.
So live and learn.
Live and learn, huh?
Live and learn. Buy low, sell high, and don't follow the trends.
That's true.
Those people who didn't, like that guy who didn't follow the trends, multi-millionaire. Just bought the right property. He just had to hold on to it.
And again, it took him a long time, right? It wasn't overnight.
It was a long-term investment.
20, 30 years, yeah.
Real estate, for most of the time, it's a long-term investment. Unless you're going to be flipping or you're going to be developing to sell.
Right.
Those are, a couple years, maybe 5. Well, it depends on how many units you're going to do. If you're going to do a 30-year or 300-unit complex, that's going to take you 10 years to even break ground.
Damn, that's long.
Yeah, with all the environmental reports and everything that you have to go through, it takes a long time. Jesus. It's like the development behind Newhall, where Magic Mountain, all those areas, just the reports to go through all the environmental that you need to go through, it took about 15, 20 years. And in another 10 years to start building.
Dang, that's
So it was
long.
like a 30 years before.
That's
you
too
know.
long.
Because right now they're doing this big development at the edge of LA County.
Oh.
And it's going to be, I don't know, it's like a whole new city. They're starting to design it now and starting going through all the environmental. They're not going to probably break ground till another 20 years from now.
Sheesh.
But if you want to go buy property over there, it might be a good time.
Let me know. I'll go over there.
Just
We'll get it together.
get it together. I don't know.
Yeah, he's this.
We'll have to
Under
write
your name, though.
under
loan.
my name.
The
I
loan
don't
will be
know.
under your name.
And then you can let me dry.
It is what it is, Danny. Family, you know?
So the moral of the story, be careful
Be careful.
be careful who you talk to about money. But I think you should talk about money with your friends.
Right.
In the sense that let them know what your goals are, because sometimes what happens is like, oh, este cabrón no quiere salir conmigo, no. Like you just say you want to buy a house.
Right.
Oh, this person doesn't want to come out with us no more, or doesn't want to party with us no more.
But happen.
If you let them know, hey, we're saving for a house, our money's going to be tight. You can come to my house, we'll hang out here, we'll buy some beers or whatever it is. And if they're down with your goal, then you're going to continue talking.
Right.
But if they're like the haters, like, no, they'll walk away.
We had it happen recently, but we won't talk about that one here. We won't.
And then when you buy a house and your friends don't buy a house, there's that greed.
Right.
With family and friends, it's always like, oh, he's making more money now, or
No,
he
he's
thinks
cool.
he's cool. Yeah, he thinks he's all.
He forgot about us. Like, no,
No.
people change. Things happen, you know?
It's not. I don't think when people change. I think it's just.
Well, situations change, so you start adjusting to that and, like, maybe see things differently.
Well, yeah. 'Cause,
Okay.
you're seeing
Yeah.
the value of money way different than 10 years ago.
Yeah. Completely different.
Yeah, and your friends, if they don't move the same way, they're gonna fall off the wagon. Yeah, you have to get new friends, or it's lonely at the top sometimes.
It is lonely at the top.
But I'll be your friend though.
But only if we can get a contract together and buy some property. See, I'll forget it, yeah. Olvídalo.
I'll teach you how to buy property. How's that?
With your money, though.
No, with your
Like
money.
Monopoly.
No, money.
You see, nobody wants to fucking play Monopoly.
I'll play Monopoly with you.
With real money, though.
Oh no.
All right, Daddy.
Yeah, but I think that's what we need to do.
We covered a lot.
We covered a lot. I think hopefully people learn from our mistakes and the mistakes that the stories that we
Yeah.
we
Those
talked
sad
about,
stories.
those
And with
sad
your
stories.
family, my family taking advantage.
I think every family has those.
Yeah.
The moochers, hey, you're my buddy, and then they disappear when the
desaparece,
money
¿no?
disappears.
Mm.
It's sad, but hey, it is what it is. You
Sí.
just gotta
Learn from it, yeah.
move on.
Y vámonos.
Yeah. All right. So thank you for watching.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Keep sending those questions, those comments through our email at the bottom, and we'll continue to make more content for it.
If you want to hear more stories like this, please click the like button and subscribe.
Find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.